Welcome to Pick a Card, Any Card.
Where we pick a card
Any card.
and cast it with an ominous voice.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Devin.
Today's cards are Chasm Skulker.
And Jace. All of them.
So today we come to you from a nice comfortable couch after 10 weeks of recording that's just been sitting in my basement.
Yep, we've upgraded. And by upgraded, I mean we just got off our asses and moved the couch.
We got
It
smart.
was 10 feet that way. But I've been eyeing literally every single recording. It's like right in my little view, and I just stare at it. I'm like, I want to sit
I
on
don't
the
know
couch.
why you didn't mention it before.
Mainly for the fact that I didn't want to go through the process of picking up the couch. And also, I always had the idea in the middle of recording. And I didn't want to be like, hey, Andrew, we should stop in the middle of this conversation to go move that couch. And you'd be like, why? I'm like, because this chair sucks.
Well, I wouldn't have held it against you.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's times where the chair that I was in was talking more than I was.
That's true. So today we bring you Chasm Skulker. It's the first request and only request that we've had since we started this. And we got it before the podcast started.
From a turbo fan.
So today today's request comes courtesy of my coworker Steve. So thanks, Steve.
Steve, nice generic name right there. I'm gonna make fun of your friend here. But the fact that it sounds like we could have just made up who just made this.
I mean,
there's no reason for us to, but if we, hypothetically speaking, wanted to make up a guy who gave us a requested card, just for the sake of making us sound like we have a fan,
so
Steve would be the name of that guy.
Now all cards we want to fake requests are going to come from Steve.
Steve or Mike or Kevin.
Well, now you'll know when we're making up cards.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Chasm Skulker is 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue for a 1/1 squid horror.
Squid horror.
Yes. It's a horrible, horrible squid.
Oh, he's a horror. I didn't notice that until now.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just realized a card that would go really well with him, and I'm not going to mention him until you tell the ladies and gentlemen what the rest of the card does.
Okay. Chasm Skulker is a fun card. Right up Devin's alley, actually.
I loved his card.
Whenever you draw a card, which Devin likes to do.
Ooh, that's my thing.
Put a +1/+1 counter on Chasm Skulker. That's great.
That's pretty
But
good.
we're not done!
But wait, there's more!
When Chasm Skulker dies, put X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk onto the battlefield, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Chasm Skulker. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Island Walk, there is the reminder text. They can't be blocked as long as defending player controls an island. Right off the bat, I love this card.
This card fun.
Now, when Steve requested this card, he had 2 problems with it. One is that you can't drop it until turn 3.
Oh no.
And 2 is that it's a 1/1. Now, I can understand. He thought, maybe if it came in with just a little bit more power, like maybe a 2/2, make it a little bit harder to kill. Well, Steve, the answer is Gataxian Probe.
Yep.
You can tap out turn 3 to play your Chasm Skulker on curve, pay 2 life, look at your opponent's hand, and draw a card.
Yeah, it would really suck though if you just look in your opponent's hand and it's Doom Blades, just 6 copies because your opponent's that guy. Oh, I thought we were going by Yu-Gi-Oh rules where you just don't have any rules.
Gataxian Probe was the first thing I thought of, and it does exactly that. It's just you get an extra card in hand. You get to put a +1/+1 counter on Chasm Skulker. So even if your opponent is that guy and immediately Doom Blades it, you still get a 1/1 Squidling.
Yeah, or you could also run cards that, what's his name? He's like Oculoid or something like that, and he's just like...
Oculus, yeah.
Oculus, yeah, he's just a 1/1 that when he dies, draw cards. So you just swing him, and your opponent's be like, alright, I block with 3/3, and he dies and you draw a card. Or they just won't. Because you'll draw a card.
At which point you're just, hey, have more damage.
And yeah, they're just ping, 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 and eventually it's turn 8, because you're running blue, so you're controlling pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And they're just alright, I'm at 12 life. When did that happen? Just I just kept swinging at you.
Well, if you didn't block my Droculus.
Yeah. So Gataxian Probe, there's also very few, but they do exist, cards that you pay a mana and you don't draw until the end of your next turn.
Yeah.
There's artifacts not
Mishra's Bauble.
Does that draw you a card?
Mishra's Bauble. Tap, sacrifice. Oh, sorry. It's a 0 mana artifact.
Yeah.
Tap, sacrifice Mishra's Bauble, look at the top card of target player's library, draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So...
It'd be, the next turn, so you do it on your opponent's turn, so
right.
It works.
You drop Chasm Skulker turn 3, Mishra's Bauble, immediately get rid of it, look and see what they're going to draw, Gitaxian Probe, ping yourself 2 life, look at their hand, you pretty much have a good idea of what they're going to do next turn.
Mm-hmm.
You're tapped out, you end your turn, you draw a card at their upkeep, you've got a 3/3.
I mean, if you're looking at their entire hand, you might as well just use the bauble on yourself, because it's just better to be like, I don't want this land, or I don't want this 9-drop.
Oh, yeah, it is target player's library.
It is target player.
Oh, that's better than I thought it was.
Yeah, there are a bunch of artifacts you can run if you want to. If you really, really want to get him out doing things on turn 3, you could do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it running it, because getting Mishra's Bauble on turn 6, it's gonna suck.
Nah, I think Mishra's Bauble maintains usefulness throughout.
He's useful, but not quite as useful as any of the other cards that let you draw now when you need it. Especially if you're like, all right, I'm top decking because I've played all my counterspells and stuff. Draw a card like Divination, draw 2, perfect.
Right.
Like this guy, it's like
But Mishra's Bauble, you can drop turn 1 and then just let it sit there, and your opponent's like, "What are you up to?"
When
I don't like this. What are you doing?
The second you need a good top deck, I'm not gonna let it happen.
I mean, you can't do anything with the card that you look at. You just get to see what it does.
Yeah, you know what it does. And, you just get to look at it.
You just look at it.
I was under the impression that you could like Fate Seal it or something, like mill it or something.
Don't get to Fate Seal it. You look at it and you're like, I know something you don't know.
I was going to say, like, wow, this thing's actually not very good at all, but then I realized, well, it is a bauble. It's not supposed to be effective or useful. It's just the thing. It's a bauble. It's supposed to be worthless.
It lets you... It's an incidental look at the top, your opponent's next draw or your next draw.
Yeah, it's essentially a divination stone.
Let it...
Like, I think this is going to happen I think I am going to eat for dinner, and then you eat for dinner, like, wow, I'm surprised.
I mean, I'm not going to complain 0 mana draw a card.
That is true. It replaces itself, so it's not
bad. It replaces itself. I mean, there is a slight delay, but you can do it on your own. You can sack it on your opponent's turn, draw on your next turn, so you get 2 draws that time around.
Yeah.
So, I think it's got a lot of usefulness.
It's okay. I mean, it's not bad, but there's so many other cards that we're about to talk about that I like that much better.
That's fair. That's fair. I might include it as a one-of.
I would definitely run Gitaxian Probe over it, because Gitaxian Probe is always useful, especially if you're running a control-y deck. This one seems like it's more of a draw deck.
It's definitely going to be a draw deck, which is why I'm going to talk about an old familiar card to you.
Episode 1. Not going to lie, during the Artifact episode, I almost used this as my card, but I'm like, nah.
We've already
I've already talked about this card quite a bit. I can't really put a whole episode behind it.
Well, it's not going to be a whole episode.
Nope. Let's be real here. This episode and that episode are very similar.
They are. And actually, Chasm Skulker would slot quite nicely into that deck.
Oh, it would. I was actually, when I said that, I'm like, probably the reason it's not in there, because 1, I don't own any Chasm Skulkers, and 2, I stopped playing that deck right about when Chasm Skulker came out.
Yeah, and it's M15. It was after that deck's day.
Yeah, really like that deck too.
You should resurrect that deck.
I'm actually going to one day as a commander deck.
So, the card we're talking about, not talking about,
yeah, we're talking
is
about
Teferi's Puzzle Box. As you might remember from episode 1, 4 mana for an artifact. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player puts the cards in his or her hand on the bottom of his or her library in any order, then draws that many cards, which it will essentially just let you keep cycling through your deck.
You wouldn't believe how mad people get when you play this. It's actually funny watching what happened a lot was that people would be like, "Oh my god, I'm losing all of the good cards in my hand," and there's a lot of people like, "Finally, I'm losing all these garbage cards in my hand." And then if someone can't deal with it and they can't destroy it, or like they can't convince the one guy who can destroy it to do it, they're like, fine, they get rid of their hand and they draw 7 cards, and that hand's even better.
Right.
And they're still mad because they just upgraded your hand.
I honestly don't mind this card being played against me, but that's just the way I play Magic. I'm a very reactive sort of player.
Yeah.
So your opponent drops something like Teferi's Puzzle Box, like, oh crap, how am I going to get around this? Well, maybe my next hand will have the answer.
Yeah, maybe my next hand will just be better.
Because just think about it. Every time Teferi's Puzzle Box triggers, you have that much better of a chance of drawing the answer to Teferi's Puzzle Box.
Yep, and assuming you want to get rid of Puzzle Box.
Right.
Like, you could also, like, Teferi Puzzle Box also, like, let your opponent draw the answer to your Chasm Skulker, or your Win Con, or whatever it is you need to win. Like, Teferi's Puzzle Box is a double-bladed sword.
It really is.
It's actually the worst part about Teferi's Puzzle Box.
Yeah.
The absolute worst part about Teferi's Puzzle Box is the fact that you can't pre-plan your turn.
No. If you want to just keep making use of Chasm Skulker's ridiculous ability, you definitely want to run Ordeal of Thassa.
Yeah, Ordeal of Thassa, when I first read it, I thought it was bad. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not particularly good, but it works amazing. Chasm Skulker. Yeah, you attach Ordeal of Thassa to a Chasm Skulker, which probably already has at least one counter, if not two. Mm-hmm. And then you attack. Ordeal of Thassa is a 2-mana enchantment. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then, if it has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, sacrifice Ordeal of Thassa. When you sacrifice Ordeal of Thassa, draw 2 cards. Yep.
So, you attack with Chasm Skulker, put a +1/+1 counter on it, sacrifice Ordeal of Thassa, draw 2 cards, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, then combat damage happens.
Yep. And if they blocked,
that is at least 3 more
counters on him. It's really good. And if you just really enchant the heck out of this Chasm Skulker with things like Curiosity.
Oh yeah.
Like, they have to block, or it's just gonna get even bigger.
Yeah, Curiosity is a 1-mana enchantment. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card.
Yep.
Now, they have to block. That's problematic. That means your Chasm Skulker just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and they're like, well, crap, I've got to block it. Which means Curiosity's not going to go off. Well, okay, fine. Throw on an Aqueous Form. 1-mana blue enchantment. Enchanted creature can't be blocked. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, scry 1. So you get to scry 1, and then Curiosity happens because creature can't be blocked.
No. Ordeal of Thassa happens first.
Or provided it has not already exploded.
Yep.
But yes, Ordeal of Thassa happens first, then Aqueous Form. Actually, no. Aqueous Form and Ordeal of Thassa, you can set up the trigger.
Yep, you were right.
Because they trigger at the same time, so you get to pick which one goes on the stack first.
Yep.
I would put Ordeal of Thassa on the stack first and then scry 1.
Yeah, so you can get rid of that garbage thing at the top, because there's always something garbage at the top.
Always. Never take the first card that you would draw.
Yeah.
It's always bad.
Just fun fact, if you're going to scry, just put it on the bottom, no matter what.
Don't even look at it.
Because it's always worse than the next card. Always.
Don't even look at it. Just put it down.
Trust me.
So then you scry, you draw 2. So effectively you've just set up a really complicated preordain.
Yeah. That your opponent's just going to Doomblade and get rid of.
Right.
Yeah, that's called a 3-for-1, fellas. Wait,
except
4-for-1.
It's not.
It's a 4-for-1.
Except it's not.
That's true. You've drawn. Well, they would move to combat dead. No.
But you're forgetting about Chasm Skulker's second ability.
Oh yeah.
They don't want to Doomblade it at that point.
Yeah, because then you get
because then you get a whole bunch of squidlings.
So many squids. They all have Island Walk, so if they're blue.
So yeah, if your opponent's playing blue. Well, if your opponent's playing blue, they can probably just unsummon it, at which point everything just gets screwed. Let's talk Happy Path.
Yeah, let's just ignore all that. So, like, yeah, you could totally you could up and just enchant the living snot out of this guy. Fun fact, they're all +1/+1 counters.
Yes.
So you could do, like, anything from Ravnica, like the Simic stuff.
Yep.
All that stuff, or probably
anything that lets you draw a card.
Anything that draw card, anything that proliferates.
Yeah, so Tezzeret's Gambit's going to be great.
Tezzeret's Gambit is amazing because it draws 2 cards, 2 for 3 and 2 life. But let's be real here.
Life is just another resource.
Yeah. For you draw 2 cards and proliferate.
Yeah.
So that's 3 counters on them.
Yep. That's great.
That's nuts. I think the worst version is also for 3 mana, but not the 2 life. It's called Steady Progress, where you draw a card and proliferate.
Yep.
So.
And Steady Progress. Steady Progress is not a bad card.
Oh no, it's good.
Now here's the thing. Your opponent doesn't want a Doomblade, so...
Like, yeah, you would have to unsummon it or exile it somehow.
You have to be able to get rid of your own creature if you want to just overwhelm your opponent.
Yep.
So we have Life's Legacy. Life's Legacy is a generic into green for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast Life's Legacy, sacrifice a creature. Draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. So you can be rolling out several Chasm Skulkers, sack the bigger one, take its power, draw cards, put that many counters on the next one.
Assuming you have multiple Chasm Skulkers, it must be at least turn 4.
Right.
That means you would draw like the 7 cards from the one Chasm Skulker you just sacrificed. Put 7 counters on something else. Play another's Life Legacy. Draw 7 more cards. No, 14, because assuming they're the same, he would get 7 counters on it. And you would have like 20 some odd squidlings.
So how are these squidlings going to get through, aside from just having way too many of them?
Before we move away from Life Legacy, though, I want to point out that the art on Life Legacy is amazing.
It's beautiful.
Like,
it really
look at that. It's awesome.
That poor unicorn.
Oh, it is a unicorn.
Yes, it is.
Poor baby.
But, assuming that you just want to, like, grind your heel into your opponent,
just like
Spreading Seas.
Yup.
Spreading Seas is 1 generic and a blue for an enchant land. When Spreading Seas enters the battlefield, draw a card. Have another counter.
Already good.
Enchanted land is an island. You've just given your opponent an island. They can be playing Jund. They have an island.
Remember, no man is an island, but that land is an island. But Tish.
Oh. My heart.
So, fun fact, there's a worse version of this card called Seize Claim, which is just 1 blue, enchanted land, or target land is an island. That's it. And it was essentially the card that sparked a rivalry between me and my friend Stuart.
Why?
Because we played casually. So I would run Merfolk back when my Merfolk deck sucked, and I ran Seize Claim
because it's a good card.
Because it's a good card, and all my Merfolk had Island Walk, so it just made sense.
Right.
And so, but he ran artifacts, and like he ran big, monstrous artifacts, and the card that generally made his deck go was called Cloud Post.
Right.
Which is essentially just a land that taps for a bunch of mana, shorthand. And this is the beginning of almost every single game went like this. Turn 1, Stuart, Clouds Post, enters tapped. Devin goes, turn 1, Island, Seize Claim. Just, it was ludicrously consistent. Like almost every game.
No, I've played that. I've played against that Merfolk deck. It's pretty consistent that turn 1 Seize Claim.
Yeah, but like, no, not only was it really consistent that I would turn 1 Seize Claim, but it was super consistent that he would also turn 1 Cloud Post. At the same game, I would turn 1 Seize Claim.
Right.
Every single time, and he would always go first. Every time. It's like the cards knew. It was amazing. But Spreading Seas is generally just better.
Spreading Seas is going to be better in this deck for sure. Because, draws you a card.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you're like me, you like a little bit of pain with your draw. I'm a black player. I enjoy hurting myself to draw cards.
I like a good black card now and then.
Read the Bones. 3 mana for a sorcery. 2 generic and a black. Scry 2. Then draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. This is solid. You can scrap both of them and then draw 2 fresh cards. You can decide you love them both and draw them both. It's very consistent. 2s across the board. I don't mind losing 2 life.
I like 2s. Know what? No.
+2/+1/+1 counters.
Oh yeah, because Chasm Skulker.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I'm like. That's not part of Read the Bones. I'm like, oh wait, because Chasm Skulker. Yeah, you draw 2 cards. So if you like paying life when you draw a card, know a card you would really, really enjoy.
What's that?
A card that I'm actually probably going to talk to when it comes around to black again. It's called Pain's Reward.
Ah, yes. Pain's Reward.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
Pain's Reward, I'm going to paraphrase this, is you pay 3. and in a circle, each player bets a number of life, and the person who bets the most life loses X life and draws 4 cards.
I bet all the life.
Like, I bet you could run that in like things like Phyrexian Unlife.
Oh yeah.
Like things like that.
Oh man. I think I may have just made an edit to my Phyrexian Unlife deck.
Yep. It's like, I bet 1,000,000.
Actually, yeah, I could make this deck. Oh, that'd be fun. I could actually swap out the Yawgmoth's Bargains for Pain's Rewards.
Yeah, and people wouldn't get mad because you're running modern banned cards.
They're not modern banned cards. They're cards that aren't legal in modern. They're restricted in legacy.
Even worse.
And I run 4. Now it's not. It's banned in modern only because it came before modern.
That makes sense. But anyway, like we finally talked about a card that wasn't blue.
Well, let's talk about some more cards that aren't blue.
Like both green and white work really well on a draw deck, especially if you're going control. Especially if you're doing a little bit of creatures.
Yep.
So, I mean, just go banned all day, every day.
So let's talk ban. Chasm Skulker is a 1/1. You know what card loves 1/1s? Sigil Captain. Now you're gonna have to play off curve if you want this to work, but I think it's worth it. Sigil Captain is 4 mana, 1 generic, 1 green, 2 white, for a 3/3 Rhino Soldier. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature is a 1/1, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Your Chasm Skulker is now a 3/3. Just done.
Right on the bat. And since he's a 3-drop and if you don't play him on turn 5, you can play this guy turn 4, you have 2 mana to just play more stuff.
Yep. So you can just start drawing cards after this.
Turn 5 Ordeal of Thassa.
Now you're just missing haste.
Yeah. It's like, ta-da! And like, if you kill him, I mean, if you kill him, assuming you didn't draw any cards, because your opponent killed him as soon as he could or whatever, that's the 2 cards from Sigil Captain.
Yes.
And 2+1s. Is it Chasm Skulker puts him in via how much counters on him, not his power, right?
Right.
Okay. So you would, better yet, instead of putting on your Thassa, you could just kill him immediately with Life's Legacy. You just kill him immediately. So if you do that, you would draw a bunch of cards, so you wouldn't get all those.
You would draw 2 cards.
No, 3, because he's a...
Three. You're right, because you draw cards equal to the power and get squidlings equal to the counters.
Yep. So you get 2 squidlings. So that's
2
not
squidlings, 3 cards. But those squidlings come in as 3/3s.
Yep, or they come in as 1/1s and they get 2 more counters on them each.
Right. You're right, they do come in as 1/1s.
So you get 2 3/3s, draw 3 cards.
Yeah.
That's good.
Let's play off curve more often.
That's a good turn 5.
I'd call that a great turn 5. Of course, we're running Bant and Eldritch Moon dropped, so we have to run Tamiyo. We have to.
Assuming you pulled a Tamiyo.
Or you could just buy one.
Yeah, but she's like $40.
Is she really that expensive right now?
Yeah, well, first off, she just came out, and a lot of people are buying them. Like, even the new Liliana's like
Well,
$40.
Bant Company is a thing.
Yeah. Tamiyo, at first, I'm like, yeah, you could, if you're running Bant, you could run Tamiyo, because Tamiyo's Bant, and I just thought it was silly, because every chance I can to run a new Planeswalker, I generally, like, suggest it. Then I realized...
No, Tamiyo works really well with this deck.
Tamiyo works really well with this deck.
Her +1 just... Yeah. Her
like,
+1 basically says, here, put 2 +1/+1 counters on this thing.
And it like, if you can do it too, like, if you have Chasm Skulker and your opponent has 2 creatures, you're just like, I choose both of your creatures. Either way, I'm drawing a card when I swing.
Yep.
Just like...
I pick your creature, and I pick my Chasm Skulker.
Yep.
I'm gonna swing. What you gonna do?
Oh my god.
Tamiyo Field Researcher, her +1, choose up to 2 target creatures. Until your next turn, whenever either of those creatures deals combat damage, you draw a card. It's not combat damage to an opponent, it's just combat damage.
Yep.
Just anytime, draw a card. That's great.
It's really good.
Her -2 is not the best for this deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's still nice to be there. It's an option.
But if you can manage to get her ult off, and if you've already gotten rid of a Chasm Skulker, you've got blockers. You can probably get her ult off. Her ultimate, draw 3 cards. There's 3 +1/+1 counters.
I mean, her ultimate is always good.
Oh, yeah.
Always. There's never a situation, unless you have 1 card left in your deck. You manage to accidentally...
Crap.
Your opponent managed to accidentally
Guys, I screwed up real bad.
to cast Enter the Infinite. in response to you activating Tamiyo's ultimate.
Guys, I have a Tamiyo, and I've only got one card left in my deck, and my opponent just cast an Emrakul.
Oh, that is true. I forgot about that. Well, I guess you're just going to use Tamiyo's ultimate. Well, good game, sir.
They're holding on to that Emrakul. As soon as you drop the Tamiyo, they're like, excellent.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, her ultimate is always good. So like, there's really there's no situation in which you're not like, yeah, her ultimate works in this deck, because it always works in decks.
It always works in this deck, yes. But I just would like to point out that it draws 3 cards.
And that also works out very well.
That's great.
Like, in the situation you meant earlier, not really due to the fact that you've probably already sacrificed your Skulker.
Why are you not running 4 Skulkers?
A bunch of Squigglies. You've probably already sacrificed both of them. Or
why are you not running a 4 of drawing all these cards?
Yeah, like, okay, we can't assume that not only do you have Tamiyo and her ult up,
you have
4 Chasm Skulkers at like 50-50. At that point, you don't care. You just swing all of them, and but while we're at it, let's just assume your opponent has no creatures and no lands and no card in hand.
Let's just assume you're playing Solitaire. Chasm Skulker is a card that you definitely have to tech around. Unlike your card for the day, which is a utility card. All of them.
Yeah, all like 6 cards. I'm cheating. And the main reason I decided to cheat and go with a whole bunch of cards is because they're all Jace. They're all of the Jaces.
Technically the same card,
They're the same guy. But the reason I wanted to talk about all the Jaces is because I really like Jace. And I essentially told myself, you know what, Devin, let's be real here. You are at one point going to talk about every single Jace. And you hate Jace. So I might as well just talk about all of them at once.
I will not deny the fact that he is typically good. I just am bored with him.
I will also not deny the fact that they keep printing them, and they really should slow down. Like, come on, Wizards, calm the hell down. Like, I love Unraveler of Secrets.
Yeah.
I would have loved Unraveler of Secrets even more if the Living Guild Pact and Architect of Thought just wasn't a thing. Because they're not... I mean, they're
Vryn's Prodigy, Unraveler of Secrets.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Well, Vryn's Prodigy gets a pass due to the fact that he's a creature, in my book. Like, they did something very, very different. They printed a Jace, but they printed a creature that was Jace.
They did something very, very different in the fact that they did something very, very different for all of the Planeswalkers.
That is true. They all of the core cast. I mean, like, they have, ironically, the only one that I think Garruk is the only other Planeswalker who has 7 printings. The main iteration of Jace that I want to talk about is the original Jace. And by the original Jace, I mean that lore-wise and not actual printing-wise.
Timeline-wise,
not... The first printing of Jace was Jace Beleren, who essentially just drew cards. That's all he did, and that's why I really like Jace Beleren, also known as Baby Jace. But the one I'm going to talk about today mainly...
the babyest Jace.
Is
Baby Jace.
What did Lodi Ready Run call him?
Itty Bitty Jace.
Something like, baby, no for real this time. Not that Jace, but the one before that one, Jace. But his name is Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Creature card from Origins. Because Magic Origins was essentially a core set designed around essentially introducing all the main cast and telling us their backstories, because Magic Plot decided to actually tell us stories about people instead of just... vague events.
Also sometimes contradicting their previously established backstories.
Well, they've done that a lot.
I know.
Let's be real here. They did that a whole lot. They're mostly similar, but they're mostly different. So Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, is a 2-drop creature. He is 1 and a blue. He is a 0/2 creature, which makes sense because he's a nerd. Nerds can't attack. He can't throw a punch to save his life.
He's relatively tough for a nerd.
Yeah, he can take a beating. I mean, because he's a nerd. They just beat him up, and he's just like, fine. And he's a smart guy, so he's like dodges attacks a little bit better than most people. Because he's like, you're gonna punch with the left hook. Surprise, I dodge it, or I leaned into it. I mean, it still hurt. But anyway, he is a 0/2. I'm gonna point out, I love the art for him, and the art was done by Jamie Jones, who I talked about 2 weeks ago in Emrakul. Have I mentioned that he's a legendary creature?
I mean, I think that stands to reason.
That's true. He is a legendary human wizard, because everything's a human wizard. or a merfolk wizard.
Or a zombie wizard.
It's kind of unfortunate that Jace doesn't like. I like Brian as a plane, but it's unfortunate that Jace never lived like at a beach, because then he would be the wizard of the coast.
Oh snap!
Anyway, Jace's ability is tap, draw a card, then discard a card. If there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, exile Jace, Brian's prodigy, then return him to the battlefield transformed under your control.
Under his owner's control.
Under his owner's control, yes. So if you take your opponent's Jace, this happened to me once because I was playing a clone deck where I played a Jace, Prince Prodigy, because I had one and he's really good.
Right.
And you're like, cool, I like mind control that. I'm like, oh no, but I want it back, so I clone it. And like, yeah, crap, if I have 5 cards in my library, if I use his ability, well, I didn't have 5 at the time, but at one point I'm like, I had 5. I'm like, if I use his ability, I just sacrifice him. That sucks.
Yep.
Anyway.
You don't even sacrifice him. He just exiles and never comes back.
Yep.
He goes away.
Yeah. So, fun fact, before I actually talk about the back half of this card, there is a difference between the legendary rule and the Planeswalker uniqueness rule.
Yes.
Every Planeswalker has Planeswalker name.
Right.
So all of the Jaces are Planeswalker Jace, which is unfortunate. That means you can't have all the Jaces on the battlefield at the same time.
Right. The legendary creature rule...
With the exception of the legendary creature.
Right. Because the legend rule applies to the name of the card.
Yep.
Not the name of the Planeswalker, which is not there.
Yep.
So you can have Jace Telepathy Unbound and Jace Vryn's Prodigy at the same time.
Meaning that Jace is a time traveler. And so are all the other Origins Planeswalkers.
Right.
But they're not blue, so somehow they managed.
It's not that they are time travelers. It's that we, as pre-mending Planeswalkers, can view time non-linearly.
That is true. We can just do whatever we want. Which is why I want the last printing of Jace, like him meeting up with Teferi and learning time travel. And that Jace card's ultimate is search your library for any number of Jace cards and put them onto the battlefield.
And then they all get sacrificed.
No. Oh, sorry. The second half of that being the Planeswalker uniqueness rule does not apply.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to mention that. That's kind of important. So he would literally just bring up all the Planeswalker, all the other Jaces, like, yeah, dream team. And they're just like, what do y'all do? Like, I draw cards. Is that it? Yeah. Well, we all draw cards. Oh, crap. And they just get swung at by 30 creatures and die.
Existential crisis. That's what it is. That's why you can only have one, and you have to sacrifice the other. If they ever meet up and they ask each other, so like, what do you do? Oh crap, we do the same thing.
Yeah, just like,
there's an existential crisis.
Actually, for most Planeswalkers, I could see that. But you know what I could see Jace doing? Getting really pissy with himself. Like, getting like a typical like gaggle of like middle-aged women just talking really passive-aggressive with each other. That's exactly what 6 Jaces in a room would do.
And they just start mind-wiping each other.
They just hate each other and they just eventually kill each other off because they're all dicks. It's like, I'm the better Jace. And Mind Sculptor just ruins all of them because he's...
Jace is basically just a petulant child.
Oh, he is. That's why I like him. He's so entertaining. And everything bad happens to Jace, which is why they keep printing him, because he's so fun to make fun of. Anyway, Jace Vryn's Prodigy is really, really good. His ability loots and then he transforms. Fun fact, he actually never transforms. He is exiled and then returns to the battlefield transformed. Meaning, the reason I bring this up is mainly for the fact that we're in Shadows over Innistrad. And a lot of things like, oh, transform, target werewolf, or whatever. If you somehow turn Jace into a werewolf, surprisingly enough, there's no werewolf that, like, when it deals combat damage to another creature, that creature becomes a werewolf.
No, because that would be dumb.
It just makes sense, because that's a werewolf word. Werewolf bites a human, and that human becomes a werewolf.
Yeah, but that would be a dumb mechanic.
It's still a flavor, like, they don't have to transform into anything, but they still just gain creature-type werewolf, because they are also werewolves.
We have that. It's called permeating mass.
That is true, but it's not, once again, like, they missed it, because it would have been just even more interesting as a werewolf, due to the fact that it's a werewolf.
I like permeating mass.
I do like permeating mass, but come on, flavor. You have to work with flavor. So, anyway, Jace doesn't technically transform, but he does exile himself and return back, transformed, into Jace, Telepath Unbound. And I just realized his name. He is unbound literally because in the lore, his mentor...
Alhemerit.
Yeah, was using him as a spy and then wiping his memory and, like, binding him to the plane not telling him he was a planeswalker, etc., etc., etc. Now he is Jace, telepath, unbound. Like, right. I didn't catch that. Like, I just thought it was a cool title. As most of them are. You
like,
don't quite
the
realize.
Mind Sculptor.
Yeah, like, the Mind Sculptor, Memory Adept, the Living Guild Pack, which actually makes a lot more sense and is pretty self-explanatory.
I like to think Jace is giving himself these titles. It seems like a thing he would do.
That is totally something Jace would do. Just introduce himself as something different. And almost every time, it's to Liliana.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you now? Well, I'm the Living Guild Pact. I actually even have an entire office now.
I have an office and someone who brings me coffee.
That is a little impressive. I'll give you that. Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. I have to go back to Ravnica. Yeah. Someone needs me.
It's like, crap, how am I going to top that? Unraveler of Secrets. Now I'm like a mystery writer. All of this is one... Jace is doing all of this to impress Liliana.
All of it.
All of it. Every single bit of it. So let's get back to these cards. Jace, Telepath Unbound, is a planeswalker. He enters with 5 loyalty counters. His +1 is up to 1 target creature gets -2/-0 until your next turn.
Which is solid.
It's solid, and I think this is like the first recent planeswalker that started this. I think
saw a lot of standard play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's really good. But I'm referring to Jace. I'm referring to
Cameo's doing it now. Liliana's doing it now.
Yeah, I'm referring to like until your next turn.
Right, I'm saying Cameo's doing it now. Liliana's doing it now.
Yeah, I think one of the Chandras did it, but I may be wrong. Like there was a new Chandra in like Battle for Zendikar who's really good. I can't remember. His +1 is really good. Well, what makes Jace Telepath Unbound really really good? Why Jace was like $100 card for a long time. Was his -3.
It's flashback.
Yep, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So if you could somehow, like, if it was rebound, so you put it back in your hand, it wouldn't get exiled.
Yeah.
Just saying.
There's the card that's return target spell or ability to its owner's hand.
Yep.
Or a spell or creature to its owner's hand.
Yep.
It doesn't technically resolve, but it does go back to your hand.
Yep. There's Remand and what's it called? The one that was just recently printed that pretty much does that. But it doesn't draw you a card. And Jace's ultimate is you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard.
And this is very typical of Jace, where his ultimate just makes me go, dick move, man.
Yeah, well,
dick move.
It's not bad. It's no like Mind Sculptor or just mills the entire library at once.
No, but it's still just not fun.
Yeah, it's 5 at a time, so it's like, I draw a card and you mill 5. I like his ultimate. No one ever runs it because. But what made Jace, Brian's Prodigy, and Jace Telepath Unbound really, really good? Both of them are adequate. I mean, Vern's Prodigy is a looter. Looter was a 1/1 that tap, draw a card, discard a card.
Right.
And Telepath Unbound is, I mean, he enters with 5.
It's Snapcaster Mage on a stick.
I mean, you can't do him every turn. It takes like 3 turns.
Snapcaster Mage was just 1 turn. Snapcaster Mage entered the battlefield, something got flashback, and you were like, yes.
That is true. But what makes Jace Telepath... Well, also, Snapcaster had Flash, so you could do it at instant speed.
Right.
And he put in a 2/1 body onto the field.
I'll take repeatability over Flash and a body.
It depends on what you do. Like, Snapcaster is really, really good. But what made Jace Telepath Unbound a $100 card was not because either side was particularly good, because both sides together worked amazing.
Yeah.
The front side looted, so you put cards like, I can't cast this until like turn 5. I'm not going to be able to play it. Pitch it. Get rid of it.
Get something better.
Like 4 turns from now, Jace is just a 0/2. He's drawing. Someone's going to kill him with a thing. Tap him. Bring him out. Bring him in as a planeswalker.
Right.
Whereas like turn 5, you tap him, draw your card, then flip him.
In which case, you just effectively countered your opponent's spell.
Yeah, one of the things I did in pre-release, because I pulled him on pre-release, humble brag. Oh, I swing like a 5/5. It's like, well, I block with my Jace. Like, oh, he dies. Like, no, because I'm using his ability. He exiles himself and comes back as a planeswalker. He's like, oh, that's unfortunate. And you can't redirect damage to him. Or you can't swing at him.
I mean, if they had trample, they could.
No, they couldn't, because all damage is dealt at the same time.
Right.
And they'd had to declare where they're swinging at. Yeah. I mean, if they like burned you, they could redirect it, but then they just burned Jace. Right. Anyway, and once the Telepath Unbound came out, you could flashback that thing that you discarded turn 2.
Right.
Or you can just keep -1ing them and you just hold on. You just like hold on to that -3 to get that one thing back. Like they just work so well together.
Yeah.
And like at the times when you bring them, because you want Jace, Vern's Prodigy, you want turn 2.
Yep.
Like that is when you want them, and like you want Telepath and Bound turn like 5, which is when you're going to get them. They just work so well together, and that's why he was like $100 card.
Anyway, moving on. Are there more Jaces we want to talk about?
Oh, there are a bunch of Jaces I want to talk about.
There's like 12 Jaces. We're going to be here all night.
There are so many Jaces. Luckily, like a good 4 of them I don't care at all about. Tied maybe with Vern's and maybe Unraveler of Secrets, one of my favorites is the original Jace Balerin.
The only 3-drop.
Yep, the only 3-drop.
And the only one originally printed as a rare.
Yep. He's the original. He's blue. He draws cards. That's what he does. That's all he does. He just draws cards.
Each player draws a card. Target player draws a card. Target player mills 20.
Close enough. His ultimate's not even any good. It's so bad.
I would like to have target player mill 20. I choose me as a target.
Yeah.
Narcomoebas. What?
Oh yeah, Narcomoebas. That would work.
Why are you running Narcomoebas?
I'm going to point out the fact in the original art, there is the symbol he's pointing with his hand is the same symbol he uses for Oath of Jace.
And Memory Adept, isn't it?
I think Memory Adept just has like... Oh yeah, it's the same symbol as Memory Adept.
Yep.
It's just like reversed because...
He's on the opposite side.
He's turned around and it's using his other hand. Anyway, I really like this Jace. I don't like how he's just like covered in hood, but I really like his design. And I like his abilities. They're simple.
This is... despite the fact that this is like a younger Jace, he looks older.
It's because we don't get to see him. We.
He also looks way more buff.
Yeah, it's hard to do it because he's like wearing a whole bunch of stuff on him, and we like just barely see his nose. I love his abilities. His +2 is everyone draws a card. Why is this good? This is the protects himself clause, because everyone draws a card, and so everyone's like, well, I don't want to kill him. He draws me cards. His -1 is target player draws a card. So only one guy, but it's a -1. So you alternate between the draw, everyone draws, and I draw. And then it's alt you never do, because one, it's -10, and you're never getting to -10. Someone will kill Jace before that happens, or you'll win.
Yeah.
And even if you do get to 10, you're like, I don't want to mill someone 20. Unless you're a mill deck, and you really need that 20 milled. I mean,
why not?
You could if you happen to have another Jace in hand. You're like, all right, I'm -10, kill Jace, mill you 20, play another Jace, everyone draw a card, you're dead. I guess. But I really like this Jace because of how simple he is. He's not amazing. He's pretty symmetrical. Everyone likes Jace. I'm also really fond of this one because I have the Japanese anime version of this card. It's really hard to find it. You'll have to look for special printings. There are a few printings of this card, which I like. It's one of the dual decks, Jace versus Chandra. But in the Japanese version of it, he is anime and he looks all Yu-Gi-Oh-ish, and it's probably one of the best like poses because he's like looks like he's blasting that thing out of his hand.
Right.
And he's anime and the card's in Japanese, and I just really like it because it's so cool and different. You guys will look at it on the video, and Andrew won't get to see it.
I've seen it before.
You've seen the real card
against me,
and you just trusted what I said it does. Luckily, it's the simplest Jace in the world, so it's easy to remember. Oh, it does this.
Right.
Anyway, that is my favorite. After Jace Balerin was printed, then it happened. They printed Jace the Mind Sculptor, who is too good. Literally too good, because they had to ban him in literally everything.
Ban him in Standard.
Yep, which is, I think he was the last card banned in Standard. Him and Stoneforge Mystic.
Stoneforge Mystic, and I think there was one or two other things that got banned at the same time. So, Jace the Mind Sculptor, +2 Fate Seal, 0, Brainstorm, -1, Unsummon, 12.
Exile all cards from target player's library. That player shuffles his or her hand into her library. Oh my god! Like he's got probably the most powerful ultimate.
Yeah, Plus, look at the top card of target player's library. You may put that card on the bottom of that player's library.
It's
target player.
It's target player.
Your opponent. Here, I don't want you to have that. Go away.
Is my hand really good? Yeah. Is my opponent's hand really bad? Well, sucks to be you. And it's a +2. It's a +2, Colby.
You get to brainstorm for 0.
Yeah.
Free.
The next one
it's
printed
banned for a reason. Moving on.
The next one was them trying to
fix it
by making a significantly worse one. They also went like, well, let's make Jace about milling again instead of like the first Jace was all about drawing cards with a little bit of mill because he's memory and like your deck and library kind of represents your memory and knowledge. And then Jace Balearin's like, hey, he helps you remember stuff. He helps you think better, and like he just like removes memories out of the other person. So like that makes sense. Mind Sculptor is like a little like let's get all of the let's just do what the memories. Let's just master the memory stuff.
I'm going to shape what your brain does.
It's like I'm going to pretty much optimize my brain to think of everything I need to, but just delete yours. Like essentially, I'm going to replace your common sense with a picture of a puppy. Ta-da! Like, all right, let's step back. Let's just go back to the mill plan instead of like deck alteration. That's the term I wanted. Like
deck alteration.
Instead of deck alteration, let's just go to milling because that's a way that isn't OP, like super OP. So Jace, Memory Adept, all about that memory, is the second most anime Jace. He's very anime in this art. I like it. He's not quite as anime as the anime baby Jace, but still very anime. It's particularly the hair.
He has anime hair.
He's got super anime protagonist hair. That's why he's Magic's main character. Because this card was printed, and now that he has the main character hair, he has to be the main character. He is a 5-drop because they realized in the last card 4-drop was too good. And he enters with 4, so less than what you paid for him. +1, draw a card, target player mills 1. That's not any good. I mean, you draw a card.
Yeah. Mill 1. Okay. 0. Just here. Target player mills 1.
No, 0 is target player mills 10.
Oh, 10.
Stop. 10 cards.
That's actually not too bad.
It is not bad. Like that's probably the best ability. If you're playing a mill deck,
you play him for 5, and then never tick him up.
It's like if your hand is empty, you +1 because you just need more cards in your hand, a little bit more than you need them to mill 10, unless they only have 10 left. And you're like, cool. I draw a card, mill you 1. Use that draw I just played to mill you like 5. Because you're probably running a mill deck if you're running this guy.
Tome Scour.
And his -7, which is one of the most likely ultimates you're going to get because it's only 7. And 2, no one's scared of Memory Adept. I mean, you'll draw 7 cards. You'll draw a 20 card. His -7 is any number of target players each draw 20 cards.
I pick all of us.
That is exactly what I did the one time I've ever got this off.
In a multiplayer game.
I was bored. I'm like, whatever. Oh no, this happened twice. One, it wasn't even my deck. I was like, everyone draw 20 cards, and then someone killed me at instant speed because he drew 20 cards. And he just assumed that I was going to win because I'm like, all right, I cast a spell. Like, in response, I kill you because I just drew with all those cards I just drew. I'm like, that's fair. I mean, I could have won without doing it.
Right.
But it was one of those, like, I'm bored, everyone draws, and someone killed me instant speed, which I thought was really funny. Someone else did it to me once, and then I won at instant speed. So, anyway, the next one printed. You want to talk about this one?
I mean, I think they finally started... They realized, guys, we really have not been doing a very good job with Jace. Let's bring him back down to 4 mana, because that seems to be alright.
Mm-hmm.
And...
solid.
Let's actually make him moderately useful? I don't know. So... Jace, Architect of Thought, was originally printed in Return to Ravnica, and as Jace does, he has to look all billowy and heroic.
And, like, has just the cloak, and he is so melodramatic.
Petulant child.
Yeah, though in this art, he is ripped.
Yeah.
He looks like he could beat me up.
He's way more buff than he has any right to be. So, his +1, until your next turn, whenever a creature an opponent control attacks, it gets -1, -0 until end of turn. So he sort of protects himself a little bit.
I think that's supposed to reflect that he kind of, like, makes people not notice him. Like, that's what that ability is supposed to be. Like, they're still swinging, like, in this general direction, but, like, unless they're, like, looking directly at him, they won't, like, think, oh, I should go kill that telepath.
Right.
It's kind of like the silence from Doctor Who. It's just kind of like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. It doesn't stop them, but it kind of distracts them, really.
Really, all it does is mess up combat math.
Yeah, it makes it really annoying.
-2, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other pile on the bottom of your library in any order. That's actually not too bad.
It's not a bad ability.
It's weird, but it's not too bad.
It's a little strange, I'll give you that.
And then his -8. For each player, search that player's library for a non-land card and exile it. Then that player shuffles his or her library. You may cast those cards without paying their mana cost.
That's really good. It's also really fun.
Hey, look, I found your one of Emrakul.
Yeah. The worst part is that, like, now I have to search through everyone's library. And, like, unless you're playing with your friends, like, I would look at one of my friends and be like, what's the best card in your library? And he'd be like, here, this is the one you want. It's like, thank you. Thank you for making this game. Of course, if you ultimate this Jace, most likely everyone's going to be like, well, that was a good game.
Right. He's still not very good, but he's improving.
Yeah, he's not bad. Like, my biggest problem is he doesn't actually draw cards.
No.
His +1
doesn't really do a whole lot of anything. He just stands there and looks buff.
Yeah, like, he's not particularly great. Jace, the Living Guild Pact. So if you listen to his name, it's obvious that he was printed in M15 and not in not in any of the Ravnica sets.
Jace, the Living Guild Pact, the card that should have been in Dragon's Maze.
Yeah, definitely. They must have just forgotten. Like, I just put him in M15. That'll work.
So another 4 mana.
Yeah.
We're getting consistency here.
Make the art absolutely fantastic.
Also incredibly melodramatic.
Oh,
because
very much
it has to be.
That's
Jace.
Jace. He is so melodramatic, and
I'm the Guild Pact.
He looks a lot less buff.
I can't get through my day without coffee, but I can do this.
Lavinia is just making me work all the time. It's like I have to get up at 9 a.m. Make coffee,
job.
get to work at 10, and then work till 2 p.m. with only an hour and a half lunch break. Lavinia is just on me all the time. I hate you, Jace.
The only bright part of my day is when I do this.
And just mope for 2 hours. And I love in one of the books, he kind of makes a point, like, he doesn't abuse his power at all, even though he's literally the law on Ravnica. But, like, the second Liliana showed up and was like, hey, we should go out on a date, he's like, okay. And just, like, walked up to the best, like, the fanciest restaurant he could. It's like, hey, you have a seat open, like, you're the Guild Pack, aren't you? Yep. It's like, well, right away, sir. Give you a nice little room. Kick these rich aristocrats out of here.
I am the law.
Yeah, like, he just is. And, like, I love how he's just casual about it, too. And he's just like, hey, I'm Jace. Do you have a table open? Jace, the Guild Pact? Yes. And he just, like, says, like, yeah, is that a problem? And he's like, oh, no, right away, sir.
I like the one story in which he's just, like, dragging through his day, drinking his coffee, and then suddenly there's, like, he shows up for a meeting with a Minotaur who basically kicks in the door and just only ever calls him Guild Pact.
I don't remember the story, but I'm sad that I haven't read it, because I want to. There's a popular fan theory that Lavinia is going to be a planeswalker.
Well, because we need more.
Yes, and this is why. It's because her planeswalker spark is going to ignite when she finds out that Jace is on another plane not working. It's like, he's out there having fun when there's work to be done, and she gets just so mad that she just planeswalks to wherever he is, grabs his ass, and planeswalks back to Ravnica to sit him down to get his ass to work.
Can we just, like, take his spark away? That's what's gonna happen. She's gonna planeswalk, go get him, take his spark, then planeswalk back and chain him to his office desk.
I'm gonna point out the fact that we don't know what'll happen if Jace dies. It implies that the Guild Pact will just go away, but that'll, like, ruin all of Ravnica. So Jace, going off fighting, Eldritch horrors twice in the same week.
It's not a good idea.
Yeah, just like, if you die in this, you're really not only condemning this plane, but another one too. You know that, right?
One of the YouTubers who I really like watching, Tolarian Community College, does this.
He's really cool.
This series called Office Hours.
I've seen images of that.
You gotta watch the Jace one.
I definitely need to.
It's got the professor from Tolarian Community College, and it also has one of the people who does the Command Zone podcast, which is another fun podcast I like to listen to. And Jace is, like, sleeping, They're both passed out when the video starts. And they wake up, and the professor wakes up Jace, and Jace is like, Ugin made me do it. The professor's like, Ugin told you not to do it. We'll link the video in the description.
Oh, that's
it's
actually
hilarious.
really good. Because that's exactly what happened. Ugin told me not to do it.
Ugin made me do it. Ugin told you not to do it.
Yeah, that means he made me do it. And I just had to. He told me not to, so I had to. Anyway, after Guild Pact, they printed Vern's Prodigy, but I've talked enough about him. And now they printed Jace, Unraveler of Secrets, which is one of my favorites. I think the more simple that the Jace cards are, the more I like them.
Right.
I love.
He's
Unraveler
back
of
up to
Secrets.
5 mana again.
Yeah, he's back up to 5 mana. They gave him a new costume essentially. The art is amazing
Because he has to be wearing a hood.
Yeah, and there's like a lot more plot and like subtext about it. He's Planeswalker Jace again. He comes in with 5, so it's 5 for 5. He's +1. Scry 1, draw a card.
That's not bad.
That is good. It's not like game ending. It's no Mind Sculptor. It's good. You scry 1. If it's land, you get rid of it and draw a card and hope it's not land. So it's essentially a very weak Ponder +1. So he gets to 6. That's really good.
-2 bounces as a creature. That's nice. He protects himself.
Yeah, and that'll put him down to 3. So you can do that 2 times.
Right.
Turn 1, bounce that. Turn 2, bounce that.
Set it up for a counter spell.
Yeah, set it up for a counterspell. Prevent that thing from attacking your own Jace.
Right.
For 2 turns.
And his -8 is the one that I was referring to earlier.
Yeah.
Which just makes me sad.
Oh yeah, this one's rough. You get an emblem with whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell each turn.
And it
counter that spell.
And it's so much it's relatively easy to get him up to 8. It really is.
Yeah, because he starts at 5, so you put him at 6 immediately. And if your opponent just can't get through, it's like 3 turns later.
It's easy to get him up to 8, and he just ends your life.
Yeah, it's really good. But
it's like, hey, you know that whole game of Magic you wanted to play? I disagree.
The one, well, he's only gonna counter about half. Counter your first spell, so just don't cast 1 spell a turn. You have to,
or just don't
wait a
cast
turn.
spells.
Yeah, just stop casting spells. Just swing.
Just play werewolves.
Just
and
jund them out.
Always,
Just jund them out. Swing. Jund them out.
Always have werewolves.
Yep, activate abilities. And that would work, like Call the Bloodline. You activate, you draw a card, and like, well, it'd be countered if I cast it. So pay the 1, discard it, put a Zambi. Or a vampire. If you have Crypt Breaker on field. Anyway, the reason I like this ability...
get around casting things by discarding your prized amalgams to the graveyard.
That would work. That would work. But the one reason I like his ultimate is because this is Shadows of Innistrad.
Yes.
Where you return to Innistrad. Who is on Innistrad? Tamio.
Yeah.
Tamio's from Kamigawa.
Yep.
Kamigawa had a card that did that.
Yeah.
It was a legendary creature that turned into an enchantment.
Yep.
That did that exact ability.
So basically,
when it was first pulled, people were like, "Oh, Tamio taught him how to do that."
Yeah.
And like, that's really cool. Or Tamio's journal taught him how to do that.
Right. That's more likely.
Yeah, and like I like this card because it's a good card. It's got awesome art. It's amazing lore, and it's my man Jace. And I think this Jace is 5 o'clock shadow. I can't tell if it's just like literal shadows.
I think it might just be. I think
it's
it
either
might be
literal
shadows.
shadow or 5 o'clock shadow or both. If it just happens to be 5 o'clock.
Conveniently, it's 5 o'clock, and I'm making shadows on my face.
Yep.
I'm not really sure what he's doing. He's making a little ball of light and staring at it like it's the most magnificent thing he's ever done.
Well, he's looking around. The art in this is actually he's in Markov Manor. Where all the vampires are like half sticking out of walls because Nahiri showed up.
Right.
Because that's where he got.
He
the
was
journal.
examining Declaration in Stone.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, if I were to rank them, I'd probably put this one or Baby Jace is number 1, and like Vern's Prodigy would be 3. But Vern's Prodigy is the best one to talk about. So I picked him to talk about, and I really like him. Ironically, any of the Jaces would work really well with Chasm Skulker.
Yeah, well, not all of them. There's a couple that don't draw cards.
That's true, like Memory Adept. But like Baby Jace would be really good. Everyone draws a card. Thing on Chasm Skulker. Or just -1, I draw a card.
Yep.
Chasm Skulker.
I draw 20 cards. Chasm Skulker.
So yeah, Memory Adept would work, because I would draw 20 cards. He is a 20/20.
21/21, sir.
Or if you have 2.
Assuming absolutely nothing else.
That is true. But if you have 2 of them on the battlefield, use his ultimate, draw 20 cards. Then you clearly have Life's Legacy.
You've clearly got Life's Legacy.
So you cast it, sacrifice it, draw 20 more cards. That one's a 40/40. Then you use your other life's legacy on the other one, drawing 40 cards and lose the game. Unless you have Laboratory Maniac on the field that just makes you win.
Because why not?
Yeah. But that's all I got. You got anything?
No, I think that's about it. We've talked ourselves silly at this point.
And there you go. You have bared through it. You no longer have to deal with me talking about Jace.
That's not true.
That's not true. I'm going to talk about Jace a lot, but I'm not going to talk about it excessively.
They'll print a new Jace, and then we'll have to.
They
talk
will,
about
and I'll make it be the subject of my next video.
But maybe in that maybe in that video we'll talk about something that isn't Jace.
Thank you for listening to Pick a Card, Any Card. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or card suggestions, you can email us at
pacac.cast@gmail.com.
or you can leave them in the comments below. Good night.
Good night.